Hi there, viewers. Today, I'm joining a conversation with author Marianne Tefft, the author of Full Moon Fire. It's a pleasure to have Marianne on the show. Hi there, Marianne.
Pleasure is mine, Peter. Thank you very much.
It's a pleasure to have you on the show.
Thank you.
Yeah. Marianne, I love your book title, Full Moon Fire. And I'm curious to ask you, how does this book come about? I mean, what inspired this book?
Well, Full Moon Fire is a series of 40 romantic poems that I call spoken songs of love. And the poems follow the phases of the moon from the waxing moon, the growing moon, to the full moon, to the waning moon, and then back to the new moon, the dark moon, that also bodes the brightness coming again. And the poems are organized. The story of love really follows that kind of trajectory from right to big. And because I'm myself a moon child, I'm a July born native of the sign of Cancer. We're called moon children. The moon has always somehow figured in my writing and in my life. And so the title was natural. And Full Moon Fire, I really wanted to contrast that, the fire energy and the water energy, and making steam and making that sort of exciting, that full moon romance, fire romance. So I brought the two words together, or the three words together in the title, the two ideas together.
Oh, that sounds quite nice. I
Yeah.
also want to ask, for readers like me who haven't read Full Moon Fire yet, without giving much information away, could you have a sneak of what we'd expect picking up the book?
Well, the book is divided, as I said, into four sections. Um, and the poems also, the 40 poems in the book, are divided up into the poems that talk sort of about the springtime of love, falling in love, the full moon of love, the big, full-hearted pleasure of love. And then sometimes things don't go exactly as you hope in love. So we have the bittersweet moments, and then we come to the the dark side of the moon. But the book does come back around. I don't end on a dark note. I come back around to a hopeful note because the new moon also hides the moon that will be growing again, as I believe in love, which is the dedication of the book. And that's the story that I want to emphasize.
Oh, that sounds nice. It sounds quite really nice to me. Now, Marian, do you have another book that you're currently working on? If yes,
I do
could you
actually.
tell us about?
I have another book that is coming for the end of the year. It's called Moon Child.
Wow,
And as you can tell, I have plenty of moon oriented writing.
in that.
But Moon Child, unlike Full Moon Fire, Moon Child actually features the word moon or moonrise or moonset or moonlight at least once in each poem. It isn't necessarily about the moon, but the moon figures in each poem. And those poems are literally organized by the seasons of the year. So, for example, the July moon is called the buck moon. In some areas, in some civilizations, by some groups of people, and so the a poem about the buck moon or under the buck moon is in the summer section of the book. And I'm working on a couple of other manuscripts as well. I'm working on the next book will be called Sirius, after the dog star, and the bright star in the sky. Sirius is a binary star, so two celestial bodies working in orbit. And my intention there is to put together a series of poems specifically about people, friends, family, intimates of various kinds with whom I've been in close orbit. And I have some other projects for 2023 and 24 involving the place of St. Martin, the Dutch Caribbean island that I live on, and another that features more some of the ideas that are prevalent in what is known as Stoic philosophy. For example, the idea that what stands in the way becomes the way, and
Absolutely.
that is what's good for the hive is good for the bee. Those kinds of ideas around philosophy. I'm working on a series of poems for that project ultimately too.
I love that. I love the fact that it adds some bit of stoicism added to it. And it's quite fun to know that you have a lot of moon works.
Yes, I do. I come by that naturally, as I say, being a July-born water baby. The moon is always with me.
That's great. I just want to ask you, what's your idea or opinion about criticism? How do you react to negative criticism of your book?
You know what? You have to expect that as a writer. We It's natural. I went to journalism school. I worked for many years as a newspaper writer, an editor, a magazine writer and editor. Um, I've been edited hundreds of times, and it's just part and parcel of the process. You won't satisfy everyone every time. And now, when we as poets are putting ourselves out there a little more vulnerably, a little more personally, we can expect that our stories will not resonate with everyone, and even the stories that we tell as observers will also not resonate with everyone, nor will our particular style be accessible or easy for some readers. So personally, nobody wants that to happen. Um, and as I say in one of my poems called Dare to Fall, you nobody wants to hit the ground, but you can't let fear of falling turn your head around. And I was speaking about the idea of falling in love, but it's the same thing. If you fall into your passion, and if it happens to be writing or poetry, we can't expect that everyone will make the leap with us, but we hope that many will walk beside us, which is the idea, at least.
That's quite nice. I love your idea about that. I also want to ask you, what are the challenges that you encountered while writing your poetry book? If there is any, could you share with us and how you ultimately overcame it?
I suppose the main challenge for many writers is that I daylight, or let's say I have a day job. I'm a Montessori classroom teacher, and I have been here in St. Martin for 20 years. So my writing and editing and the packaging of my projects takes place around my classroom work, of course. That's always a challenge. And then um, for me, because I'm a very experienced writer, one of the time for this, I have the skills to put the book together that many first-time writers, first-time published writers like this are challenged to find. So I'm fortunate in that, and as all of us do, the promotion of our books, how to break through the is, if you will, of literally thousands of books appearing, especially now in the days of self-publishing, literally every day. And so that's more of a challenge again. Many writers simply want to have time to do that. That's their thing. But we quickly find out that we do have to become social media experts and news release writers and so on. And that's an interesting challenge that I'm enjoying taking on.
That's nice, quite nice. Also, want to ask you, could you tell us what publishing is like for a published author like yourself? What challenges you've encountered in terms of marketing your book? And what are the mediums you've utilized so far in terms of promoting your poetry book?
I've had good success here in St. Martin, local. I've lived here for 20 years. It's a relatively small island. It's like living in a medium-sized city.
Oh,
So I'm known as a teacher and a writer. I've been able to put together a book launch. I'm planning an international poets night together with St. Martin poets, as well as others who will Zoom in from around the world, which will be lovely. I'm linking up with my daughter, who is a singer and songwriter, to provide some continuity in my book as well. And so we complement each other in the work that we do. And because I have a background in journalism and marketing communications in a sense as well, I write news releases and things of this nature that have appeared on the radio a number of times and on local television and so on. but it's that next level, especially social media is the challenge now for everybody. It's the TikTok and the Instagram
Mm,
and the Facebook and the Amazon algorithms and all of those things. That's the next challenge, certainly
mm.
for me.
Oh, I love that. I love that. That's quite true. I also want to ask you, is there anything that you love to share with the viewers about your book that we haven't discussed in this interview and you'd love the viewers to know?
Well, what I have heard about my book and what I certainly tried to do in my book was, I mean, I don't want to be too glib, but the idea that if you hate poetry, please read Full Moon Fire, because
Wow.
Full Moon Fire is an accessible poetry book.
Wow.
It speaks in images and experiences that many of us have had. It's not for, it's not so far above us that we don't understand what I'm speaking about as a poet. And I'm really grateful for that, because I want Full Moon Fire to be a book that people can feel, yeah, I really there, and I felt this, or I'm happy to know others have felt it. And that's what I really wanted to achieve there. So I think that's something I'd like people to know about Full Moon Fire, that I also, even as an English major and an English teacher and a great reader, and even as a poet herself, I
Mm.
appreciate writing that is accessible too. And I try to write that way.
I love that. I love the sound of that, especially knowing that it is accessible for people who have not even read poetry before. That's a nice
Yeah,
try. I love that.
thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, I also want to ask you, what kind of advice do you have for other writers whilst they're struggling to produce in a book like yours? What would you tell people in this category?
I've been writing almost every day something since I was in elementary school. Like a lot of writers, I wrote a piece that my grade 6 principal liked and read out over the public address system at my elementary school. And I was kind of hooked on writing and poetry and reading it. And I love to read, and then became involved in writing as a profession, as a journalist.
Mm,
I would say that daily journaling, just making writing a practice, is enormous. If you want to learn to speak French, you have to open your mouth and use the language. If you
absolutely.
want to play tennis, you have to get out on the court and
Sure.
strike a ball. If you want to run faster, if you want to run a faster marathon or a faster 5K, you have to
You
put your
practice.
sneakers on, get out on the road and run.
Sure.
And I think that's the advice that I have for emerging writers as well. You are not going to create deathless prose every day that you sit
Mm,
down, but the writing practice is incredibly important. And simply let it flow, whether you write on your phone or you write in the coffee shop or you write lying on your elbows in bed. It doesn't matter. Just get that flow and get in that habit and keep it, keep it somewhere and go back to it every so often. Try to edit it. See if there's something that you can make out of something that you wrote 6 months ago or 6 years ago. And I think that's the best kind of advice. Really, writing depends on writing, not on
mm,
wishful thinking. And
That's
very
great.
much baby steps, baby steps. That's what I recommend.
I love that. I love that. I love your deep advice to it. And I'm hoping that viewers, including myself, would love to utilize it. I don't know if you have a copy of your book there with you, right? Do
I
you?
do.
Yeah,
I do
I'd love you
indeed.
to make some sort of recitation if you love to recite a poem, a couple
With
poem,
pleasure, Peter. With
that'll be
pleasure.
fine.
Here is here is Full Moon
On
Fire.
fire.
I'm very pleased with this full moon, this fiery full moon. Sorry, holding it so it's not too
Yeah,
shiny
spoken
for
song
the
of
viewers.
love.
Thank you. Full Moon Fire.
That's a
And
nice cover.
thank you. Thank you. I'm very pleased with it as well. I really wanted something that would have a wow factor. And again, that social media thing, we have to think about what's going to pop in our tiny little thumbnail. It's going to be our book cover online. So I really wanted something that especially moon lovers at least could relate to.
Yeah.
I could share with pleasure. Perhaps your listeners would like to know how to find love. How to find love. Love is not lost. Love has not stumbled on her way to you. Love
Mm.
has not had an accident, maybe, or run out of gas. Love has not got chatting with a friend until, oh, what time is it anyway? Love has not sat down with a stone in her shoe. Love has not lost her compass in the surf. Love is not swimming in eddies. Love is. Love is not lost. Love is just there beyond on the wind. Love is the expanding circle that skips away from the stone dropped into the sea. Love is the sound, they say, only dogs can hear. The more you reach for love, the less you hold, but keep those grasping hands in your pocket, and you no longer have pockets enough to carry all the love that has been there all along. Love is. Love is not lost. Nothing as big and wise as love can even go missing. Love knows a thing or two, all right. Love knows gimme gimme never gets. Like the mangoes in the neighbor's yard, platinum bright, like a new wedding band, filling the air with cinnamon, and your hands too big to ease them through the mesh fence. Love is. Love is not lost. No search party needed for love. You can't lose love if you try. Not really. Like your best friend when you were 6, dressing up in long skirts and church heels while your mothers rolled the dough for Sunday biscuits, playing that copycat game until someone cried, but you played it again the next day anyway. Love is. Love is not lost. This I know. You will never find love. You cannot find what was not lost. You can only know what is there and always has been. Wait and see. Open your eyes. Open your heart. You cannot find love, but love will know you when she sees you. Love will find you because love is not lost and neither are you. Thank you.
Oh, I love that. And I particularly love the way you recite your poem. The tempo of the
Thank
voice,
you.
the solemnity, it's quite
Yes,
amazing to me. And the lyrics itself, I can grasp a lot of them. They're quite nice and beautiful.
thank you.
Thank you
Thank
so much
you.
for reciting that.
That's my pleasure.
That's
Definitely.
great. What's the title of that poem you just recited?
That's called How to Find
Oh, How to Find Love. That's great. Well,
Love.
I'm pretty
You can
sure
find
that, yeah, I'm pretty sure there are more amazing, poems like that encapsulated in the book, which is quite nice. I love that.
Thank you. I'd be happy to share something else with you if you like.
Yeah, sure. Let's get one more. That'll be fine.
All right. Um, I was a songwriter. I have been a songwriter, and I'd like to share you something, for example, that began as a lyric
Okay.
and also pretty accessible. If you had told me it would ever hurt so much to say your name, like a voice inside me crying rivers in the rain. If you had told me I would miss you like the ocean craves the shore, my shoes would still be lying. Told me I would ever have to stop and read the signs, standing at the crosswalk where I stood 1,000 times. If you had told me Friday night would drown the hurt but work, you know I've always been the kind to live inside my head work things out in my mind and feel them to the end. So when I took my keys to go, the hurtin' had been done, but then I realized our love was never really gone. If you had told me that you wanted me to speak straight from the heart, knowing that the silences were always tearing us apart, if you had told me that you needed me to read between your lines, your smile would still be shining from the pillow next to mine. If you had told me all the things I didn't know, if you had told me you never wanted me to go, if you had told me we could have found another way, if you had told me I'd still be loving you today. Thank you.
Well, that's exciting. That's quite exciting. Especially, we actually have some network disruption while you're reciting it, but that shouldn't be a problem. We actually did love your mode of recitation. The way your recitation is quite very nice to me. And I don't think I've ever seen it in this category before. It's quite nice. So thank you so much for another
Thank you.
fantastic recitation.
I'm glad you're enjoying it. Thank you. I hope your viewers will feel the same.
Yeah, yeah. And for viewers who would love to get a copy of Full Moon Fire, I left a link in the description part of this interview for you to get a copy directly on Amazon. And it's a pleasure
Yes,
to
Full Moon
have.
Fire is available on Amazon and all of your favorite online booksellers. And with pleasure. Please find me also on Facebook and YouTube, where I sometimes read my own poems. And with pleasure, I would be happy to have viewers of Full Moon Fire and viewers of the English literature reaching out with pleasure.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Marianne, for coming on the show. It's a pleasure speaking with you.
Pleasure is mine, Peter. Thank you so much. And congratulations to you on your forthcoming book as well.
Thank you. I appreciate it.